So just more incentive to, because we've seen some raggedy chungs over the years that have received full D-score credit, even though the shape is all of them at the same time and none of them, and might be, a fantasy.
Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two. Jayla Hang dominated the Pan Am Championships with 6 freaking medals. MyKayla Skinner has entered the chat in the trans conversation, and a deaf and a between-bar piked Delchev happened at the Asian Championships. We're going to discuss it. It's June 16th, 2025, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. And reminder, Chicago live show tickets are on sale now. You don't have to be in Chicago to attend this. You can be anywhere in the world, and you can watch this later or live, where you can ask questions live. So it's Friday, July 18th. Tickets on sale now. Early bird discount for in-person expires on Sunday. That's for Club Gym Nerd members. And I know you guys have already gotten your email because there's already been a lot of tickets sold. So I'm very excited about it. It's going to be fun. And then we'll go the next day to watch Classic. So let's discuss the headlines.
I would love to.
Okay.
Maybe. First, we'll see what they are. It depends.
We had 2 big meets this past week.
Yes. It's Continental Championship season.
Guys.
The most wonderful season of them all until the next one.
Pan Am and Asian Championships. Equipment drama is usually the theme of Pan Am Championships because we've had so many things. Remember, we've had
sandbags on the vault.
Sandbags on the vault. And this time there's a new manufacturer they're using at this meet. It's like an orangish color. That's how you'll know it's this manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
The rings.
The company is called Orange Color Limited. Yeah,
exactly. The rings broke promptly during training for the men. By
rings broke, you mean the actual ring, like in half?
Yes, dismount holding it in your hand. And the rings, the pommel, the ring, they break. This is not unusual, but there was tons of problems with the men's equipment. Didn't hear of any issues with the women's equipment. So at least on that front, things were pretty good, thankfully. So that's one good thing. So if you guys are waiting for stories about bunnies chewing through wires, as far as we know, that didn't happen. Oh, the good old days. Athletes survived 3 days in a row of competition, you guys. 3 days in a row. So we talked about Jayla Hang dominated 3 days in a row. She had to do all around. Canada's Felix Dolce won all around, and the women's and men's U.S. team won gold. Team gold at these championships.
Yeah, we're going to go into depth in both for both Pan Ams and Asian Championships this week. Don't worry. The big winner at the Asian Championships, well, it was close between the Chinese women and the Japanese women. The big winner was us as fans because they had a close team final, and that's always fun. But yeah, China and Japan dominated. The medal count, China won team by a skosh, by a bit. We had some controversy in the bars final that we're going to get into. But Jessica only cares about Nakamura's bars routine, obviously.
That's correct. And for those wondering, yes, obviously Asian Championships, Chuso was there. She made vault final, but then she seemed to have injured her knee a little bit on her first vault in the final, and then she didn't do her second vault. But the Olympic Channel did confirm today that she will compete next week, I think, in the in Tashkent at home for her 50th birthday. So looking forward to that. Before we get in depth into the major news this week, let me give you guys some updates. GymCastic updates. Yeah. Live show Friday, July 18th in Chicago with a very special guest, a secret special guest, which you will find out maybe sooner than later. So you can get home from work, have dinner, then come to the world famous IO Theater, a home of every SNL comic person that you've ever heard of. And tickets are on sale now. Again, the early bird discount for club members expires Sunday, June 22nd. Log into the live show page to get your discount. And, remember, you don't have to be there in person. You can watch and ask questions from anywhere in the world. And if you can't make it live, you can watch the replay. But the replays are only available for a short amount of time. So it's going to be very fun. I'm very excited for Chicago. Also, if you're a visual listener and you watch us on the YouTubes, please subscribe because only like half of you are actually subscribers. So please, subscribe to us. And remember to automatically download, because it's summer, people travel. Set all of your podcast players to automatically download the show, because you don't want to be stuck on a plane or a long road trip with no Wi-Fi and not be able to listen to us. My God, how else are you going to get your entire family indoctrinated into gymnastics if you can't take over the car radio?
How can you ruin everyone else's life by using us as a tool, if not by subscribing?
Also, have an interview with Charlie Larson coming up. Charlie Larson, who can do a triple twisting double layout and switch gyms and switch sports and ended up Michigan national champion. So if you guys have any questions, send them in to gymcastic@gmail.com, and I'll try to ask all of your questions to Charlie. And if you haven't watched Charlie Larson's Tumbling, you are missing out, and it is amazing, and you should totally check it out. I want to get into Gymternet news, and then we'll get into the meet specifics that happened.
All right.
So MyKayla Skinner has entered the chat. If you don't know who she is a Olympic silver medalist from Tokyo. She's a world champion and also NCAA champion. And she has talked about how she was bullied by Simone, essentially, when she was a gymnast. And here is a quote.
MyKayla Skinner said, "Throughout my own career, I endured being belittled, dismissed, and ostracized behind the scenes by Simone. The pressure to stay silent was immense. I kept quiet out of respect for the sport, for my teammates, and for the ideal of unity among athletes. But witnessing this kind of public shaming, especially from someone in a position of influence, makes that silence no longer acceptable."
The politicals who want to distract from, I would say, what is happening into democracy in the U.S. have found MyKayla Skinner. So if you didn't catch what happened last week, Simone called out a swimmer who has been used to fuel trans hate, and Simone said some unkind things to her, and now people have decided that Simone is a bully and mean. And, I don't a part of me doesn't even want to talk about this, because this is a distraction from the real issues. This is a single voter issue. This is what people use to be ignore everything else that's going on. And I just also really think that this is not a game that Skinner wants to play, because she can be buried very quickly with the receipts for her entire elite career and beyond of things that have happened and things that people don't know about that have not been made public. But there's a long list. Anywho, do you have any thoughts on this, Spencer?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's at a certain point, it's just this is just for attention, and what are we even doing here? I have nothing. I don't care.
Mailie O'Keefe receives an Operational Specialist Award. Oh, Operational Specialist. Mailie's been the recipient of the Ann Osborne Postgraduate Intern Scholarship, a program created to support female student athletes pursuing careers in college athletics. So, Operational Specialist. It sounds like a military award, but I feel like it's the are you doing all the things that make sports, happen award? And Mailie O'Keefe, obviously, one of the greats, a great in the elite and at Utah. The moving news in college, because it's happening all over the place.
All right, let's go. Geraldine Stack-Eaton, Alabama gymnast, has been a Minnesota coach for a number of years, is the new head coach at Cal, which we also talked about a little bit on Behind the Scenes. I think it's a solid direction for Cal to go. Someone who is still pretty new to the coaching world, but has, kind of gotten the experience necessary from her time at Minnesota and is ready to build their own thing at Cal. A program that kind of still has some strong gymnasts there, but has also lost a lot of people and is kind of has to build up its lineups again as well. Simone Brown switched commitments from Clemson to Arkansas. Jessie McDonough, is Jessie Duke in my mind because I don't recognize married names, who was a gymnast at Utah, is a new Clemson assistant coach with the Crandall Howells. Olivia Troutman, Oklahoma gymnast, is now an assistant coach at Utah State. So the Oklahoma coaching tree continues to expand. Speaking of which, Reagan Smith is the new associate coach at Iowa State. And Corinne Tarver has been named the head coach at Southern Connecticut. Well, that's what we know right now.
And we have a Mary Lou Retton update. So she got pulled over for a DUI. Someone called that she was swerving all over the place, did not take a breathalyzer test or whatever they do in West Virginia. And she pled no contest and made the following statement.
What happened was completely unacceptable. I make no excuses. To my family, friends, and my fans, I have let you down, and for that I'm deeply sorry. I'm determined to learn and grow from this experience, and I'm committed to making positive changes in my life. I truly appreciate your concern, encouragement, and continued support.
And that's via the AP News. All right, meet news.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay.
I want to introduce Gymnastics Greatest Stars 2025 Pan Am Championships edition, because I feel like we did have, at both Pan Am Championships and Asian Championships, we had some key starring moments where gymnasts really stood out. Some expected, some super unexpected, or that we were seeing for the first time on, at least on a major international stage. So Jessica, Pan Am Championships, Gymnastics Greatest Stars edition. We're making the VHS tape for those of us who grew up in a VHS tape era where we got to watch Gymnastics Greatest Stars, the greatest VHS tape about gymnastics ever created. Who would be on your Gymnastics Greatest Stars for the 2025 Pan Am Championships?
Karla Navas from Panama. Yes. Mm-hmm. Vault gold, well-deserved. If you're a visual listener, we can take a look at this vault. She does a Yurchenko half on front layout full off. And I love this so much, and I'm completely obsessed with it. We just rarely see a layout front full on vault, and one that's actually done with open hips the entire time appropriately and beautifully. I love this vault. I'm totally obsessed with her. So home gold for her. Panama hosting the championships and wins a gold medal, which is gigantic, and I don't think controversial. So yeah, she also did her Yurchenko 1.5, which is really nice. Could be in a Oklahoma lineup. And
well.
All right. Well, it wasn't as clean. Okay, but it was still a very good Yurchenko 1.5. Also, the Panama team qualified in 4th place to team finals ahead of Brazil, which this is one of the huge things.
Deal too. Yeah.
I was like, what? Which they've been coming up, and they have Hillary Heron, and they're a really good team. I expected Mexico, because Mexico has been the team on the rise, to really be higher placing here, but Mexico has also been going through their abusive coach reckoning time, and they're bringing in new coaches now. So I think will get back to where they were.
I think it's also one of those years. It was a post-Olympic year kind of team where you're sort of, so many of the gymnasts who've been getting really strong scores for Mexico were not competing here. And that was true for Brazil as well. So it's sort of that scenario as well, but super cool for Panama to really come through at their home championship, because you really want, it's not often that Panama hosts meets or big meets. So you really want to, I'm sure there was a lot of internal pressure for them putting on themselves to really have their best competition. Like, we get to compete at home in front of our home crowd. So it was very cool. A gold medal for Karla Navas and a really good team performance in qualification to show, like, we're not just like also here. We're, we beat Brazil. It was a shame that Hillary Heron was not able to compete floor. I don't think she was at 100%. So that kind of, it's Panama. You want to be able to compete your best and compete your best events. So that's kind of a shame for her. But she was able to do some events and compete on the team. So that was good.
So who is on your Gymnastics Greatest Stars Pan Am Championships edition?
Okay, well, we have to start with Jayla Hang of the United States team. She had her meet. We've, watched Jayla Hang for many years. She's been on national team for a while now. Not a surprise, not a brand new figure in the elite scene. But this was the meet where she put it all together at the same time and really came through with a big score. 6 medals out of a maximum 6 medals. So that's all around gold, team gold, and then events. She made all 4 events finals: bar silver, beam silver, floor silver, vault bronze. So maximum 6 medals in all 6 opportunities. So a huge competition for her. 55.3 all around, which is in the team or the qualification, which was also the all around final. That's the top US all around score this year. Couple things I want to go into, a little more analysis, because first of all, vault final did well, bronze medal. did have her second vault downgraded to pike, her round off half on half, which I think fair, but also I want to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I thought this was very fair. Like, I was so hyped for her because I was like, I always said when she hits beam, it's over for you bitches. And it was.
Yeah, she's hitting beam like pretty consistently now, even with her difficulty. And that's very cool.
It's been a while. Like, this year, beam has been on, which it's always been her biggest threat. But I was more worried about, like, it's so hard to go 3 days on hard. And by on hard, we mean, like, there's no pits, there's no extra mats. You are training and competing 3 days in a row all around. But she held up so well, and she's had some injuries in the past. So I was like, this is not a big deal. And I also thought it was fair that it was downgraded, especially when you have the gold medalist doing a legit layout front full that's actually a legit layout front full that Yurchenko half on. And it was like beautiful and really laid out. So I didn't have a problem with the downgrade. Did you?
No, I didn't. I think it's all it is a further motivation to upgrade that to a Chung and work on that because there's no pike 1.5 in the code anymore. I mean, people have done it. There used to be, but you can't downgrade the Chung to a pike shape because that doesn't exist in the code. So just more incentive to, because we've seen some raggedy Chungs over the years that have received full D score credit, even though the shape is all of them at the same time and none of them, and might be, a fantasy.
Oh, the raggedy Chung. Yeah. We've seen
them. It's not even like one of those things where I feel like I'm verbally subtweeting someone and not saying their name, because it's like 10, 15, 25 people.
Yes. There are many, many options that fall into this category.
Many. Yeah. But so you brought up the thing I want to go into, a debate club moment, a Pan Am Championships debate club, which is this idea that Jayla Hang competed all around 3 days in a row. Is that okay? Should she have been rested at certain points during this competition? Because it was, for the women's schedule, was qualification / all around on Friday, team final Saturday, all the event final Sunday. So if you weren't following every moment of it, that was the schedule. So Jayla Hang competed all around in qualification, all around final, then all 4 events in the team final. She made all 4 event finals, so competed all 4 of those the next day. So should she have been rested? Is this a problem with the event format? Can we think of other instances where gymnasts have been asked to compete the all around 3 days in a row? Because I kind of couldn't think of one. And what are your overall thoughts?
But the one thing I was thinking about this a lot, because I was like, for her and like for Fontaine from Canada, I was like, okay, she had to do the same thing.
But they did not use her on floor in the team final. So the contrast there, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah, they gave her a leg rest. I mean, on one hand, I was like, oh, Worlds is going to be so easy because you're going to have a day off between each competition. On the other hand, it's so much longer. So on the one hand, I'm like, God, is it easier just to do this all at once and be done than have to be, in another country for a month and be competing with, on hard for a month. So yeah, that I like that this is so fast, but I don't like that it was 3 days in a row. I don't know. We'll have to talk to the athletes and ask them what they thought about it.
And I would be interested to know what the conversations were like with the coaching staff, team leadership, to be like, okay, are we doing this? Because where I am, I think it's tough because given the event format, because you want to compete the first day. That's the all-around final, and you qualify to things. That's very normal, competing the all-around the first day. And if you've made an event final and you're healthy, you should compete it. Like, you don't take away that opportunity. So then the potential for resting, which is what Canada did with Fontaine, is during the team final. My default with team competitions is always, you don't take winning for granted. Because you can look at the results and say, the US beat Canada by 900 million points. They obviously could have put Dulcie Kaler on a couple more events in the team final because she didn't have any event finals. Instead of Jayla Hang, you lose a few tenths, but you're still winning easily, and that was an obvious opportunity to rest someone. I think that's the argument, at least. I feel like you never take that for granted, or don't do your very best in the team competition and just assume you're going to be better. First of all, because that's kind of just like an arrogant mental place to be, where you're like, we're obviously better. But also it leads to things like the Simone's our gold medal ticket quote that Simone has talked about someone saying, and that didn't sit well with her. She did not identify who said it, though, when she talked about that, correct? I feel like she said someone said it, but she didn't. I just want to say, like, she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't say it. We will say we are 100% sure that was Tom Forster.
So it leads to situations like that where you've put an athlete in a position that they don't feel comfortable with, or over relying on them, or so there are also like practical considerations why you don't want to assume you're going to win. So my feeling is my default is I don't think someone should be competing that much 3 days in a row without a day off, all around competition at a competition event with no pits, as you mentioned, or anything. But I also put that more on the event format than on the coaching staff's decision about what athletes are going on which events, because I don't think there was a great opportunity to rest unless you kind of took it for granted that you were going to win. And I feel like I would be criticizing that as well, which is so I feel like it's a problem with the event more than the decisions. But then that brings up, like, is this shorter event? Because there are pros to that, including the attendance in terms of the competitors was really strong at Pan Am's, especially in the women's division. Like, a lot of small programs sent a full team, which is really cool at a Continental Championship, because that's, I feel like, the opportunity. It's more financially viable for countries. Panama's closer. There are, it's fewer days that you're paying for a hotel for all of the team members and the coaches and the staff. And I think that's a huge consideration. And so when it's more feasible, you get a real Continental Championship where you have, full teams from Guatemala, El Salvador, like all of these countries could send full teams. And that's what you want from a Continental Championship. So I think that's a big pro. Is that worth the intensity of the competition schedule? I don't know. I don't have, a categorical answer there. I kind of feel like maybe not, but I also really liked that we got all of these countries bringing full teams, because we've talked about many times, we feel like Worlds is too long. And we've recently had a behind the scenes conversation about how it's so hard to find a host, particularly because, and why the US doesn't host, particularly because it's so long of an event that you have to have the arena for. But where was I going with that? I probably know.
It's hard to find an arena in the fall that doesn't have another sport, whatever pro sports also occupy that space. And then
So what I was going to say was
monster truck rallies, obviously huge here.
Worlds might be needing to get smaller. And so the opportunity, but you also want that some opportunity for countries to, we want small gymnastics countries that don't have a lot of funding to be able to build and grow and get more funding and have more competition opportunities and improve the level of the routines. And you only really do that when you compete. And how do you balance that with needing to shrink Worlds? And one way to do that is getting a lot of people competing at a Continental Championship, which is a huge deal, especially depending on the country. I think sometimes in the US, we don't, in all sports, don't really consider the Continental Championship to be a big deal. But if you're in Europe, like a European Championship is a huge deal. And that's like listed on par with like world medals, Olympic medals, European Championships medals. Like they're all kind of listed together. And so this can be that. So I don't want to compromise the attendance in terms of the athletes.
Yep, I agree.
Was that a long way of saying nothing? That was pretty good long way of saying nothing.
No, I
made no conclusions. But I said things. I said things.
We have to find a way to make it shorter. It's up to us, basically, as it usually is, to come up with the genius idea that will make it shorter, but also include the mixed pair competition.
Oh my God, I know. We have it's very difficult to manage.
And it can't be longer than a week, even though a week is hard to find in the US. But this is what we need to do. So in the and I'm imagining other places too. Europe has all the same kind of sports, and then we have to account for all the other sports. Like, what is that thing where you hook that thing that looks like a big banana? That's very popular in America. It's like a banana shaped hollow.
The Scoopy.
Highlight, right.
Yeah. We had those when I was in elementary school, and we just called them Scoopies because we didn't know they were in like with all the sports equipment or like the things for recess, and they were just like 3 Scoopies in there, and we were like, "Oh, do you want to play with the Scoopies? I don't know how to do that, but they're the Scoopies." So I call that Sport Scoopies.
That's much clearer when you call it that.
Club Gym Nerd, you get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, an extra whole podcast every week, athlete dossiers for major competitions, code guides, options to commission your own segments. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
Okay, I want to talk about my Gymnastics Greatest Stars Pan-Am edition.
Yeah.
Leah Monica Fontaine of the Canadas.
Uh-huh. Well, did you employ an accent? And I want to know what it was to say Leah Monica Fontaine.
It was just grandeur was the accent.
It was Europonia. You're from Europonia. You're just sort of elegantia. Elegantopolis.
Yeah. Yes. Elegantia, where you obviously know that I reside. It's clear that's where I belong.
That's
5 medals.
Citizenship. Yeah. You have dual citizenship. Yeah.
5 medals, just 1 less than Jayla Hang, and floor gold, all around silver, team silver, vault silver, bars bronze. And we've been talking about her as a up and comer favorite of Canadian that we have. We talked about her a lot on behind the scenes. It's like, she is one that we are looking for to carry the torch for the great Canadians. And she proved it here. So I'm super stoked about her and looking forward to watching her more. And I'm also like, preview of Worlds.
Yeah.
These are the people. We just need to have a big rest. Now, if you competed at this, you only have a month until Classic, so you should skip Classic, first of all. All these gyms can skip Classic because they've already qualified to national championships. So I would skip Classic, rest, and then compete at national championships for the U.S. anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, can we get the Canadian team to compete at Classic?
That would be great. I mean, remember that one time we had a wonderful, amazing French gymnast, and then all the coaches complained that she was, taking attention away from other gymnasts, and it's like, do you know the number of people that showed up because she was competing? Dos Santos, what I'm talking about, of course. And that's where we got the meat is good. So anyway, who else is on your list?
Gabrielle Hardie for the U.S. team also had an amazing competition. She's, I think, the least known, least seen, least heralded member of the U.S. team. But 3 medals. So team gold, also made both of the event finals of the event she competed. Bars gold, won that. That was a surprise. Floor silver, really strong debut competition. And it's funny, you're probably primed to do this when people come from the same gym and sort of associate them or make comparisons. But it really did remind me. Oh, sorry, floor bronze. Did I say floor silver? Floor bronze.
Yeah. Did you get floor bronze?
Yeah, floor bronze.
Floor bronze.
Hardie. Sorry. Yeah. Fact check. But it just so reminded me of that first year Grace McCallum was a senior. And I think it was Pac Rims that spring and not Pan Ams, but same idea. Liz Pan Ams later in the year, in 2018 when she was a new senior and just kind of emerged and was like, I'm ready. You weren't talking about me. You weren't expecting me, but I'm ready. And I'm going to win like 500 medals at every competition my first year as a senior. And it was so reminiscent of this competition for her, because I wasn't really focusing on her as much as the other athletes on the team. And then she was just like, no, I'm here.
Yep. I'm also just happy to see that like Twin City Twisters, they lost all their elite staff, are all gone essentially. So they still have, they've been able to keep an elite at that level, which is really nice. And Chelsea has this very nice toe point and very nice form. And this is obviously the most important thing that counts for everything. So I was happy to see that. And just that she had a really great meet. Other headlines from the Pan Am Championships in Panama.
I do have another debate club. to do about
ready.
Pan Am Championships.
Okay.
What do you think about all of these Continental Championships having different formats? Because at the Pan Am Championships, they did qualification that was also the all-around final, and then we had a team final, and then we had event finals. At the Asian Championships, qualification was also the all-around and team final, and they just did event finals. European Championships had a separate all-around final. What do you should it have to be all the same?
I don't think so. I like on the one thing, when it's a qualifier for the Olympics or qualifier for Worlds, yes, it should have to be the same format for everyone. When it's not, I like that the continents can decide how they want to do it. So if it is an event final Worlds, I think you should absolutely make that the most important thing. It's all around event finals as Worlds. So that is how you should create the system of focus at your Continental Championships. When it's everything Worlds, like team, then you should include that too. But also that I always think that event finals are the most important and exciting finals.
The Asian Championships had Jessica format, which is just get it all over with and then do event finals.
Which is the correct format. You want to see the best on the events because they're the most exciting, obviously. So, I guess that's how I would like to see it. What do you think?
And it allowed for the European Championships to experiment with the mixed team event, which the other Continental Championships have not done. Yeah, I think it upsets my delicate sensibilities that when things are not congruent, but I think my issue with it is more that than like an actual problem. It's just like, I want everything to be in order and the same and exactly comparable in every phase of the competition. But I think it's just a me thing. I agree that, if you're qualifying for Worlds, but in the years when Continental Championships are a qualifier for Worlds, like for the all-around athletes, they say it does have to be qualification that determines. So they kind of try to make it a little similar for each one of each Continental Championship, how you qualify to Worlds. Because I do agree you shouldn't have different parameters depending on where your continent is of what you're doing. You still could, because like if it's also a team, then that influences who's going on which events, which then can influence all around qualification to Worlds, and you kind of don't want that as part of it. But yeah.
Controversy. I always think that event finals should be sooner than all around and team finals because they then give at team, you have more people to work with and to put in if you need something. Event finals, it's all you, and you want to save yourself for that. So you should have event finals and then put the things where you have other people to rely on later. The things that it's just a
solid argument. It's also pretty rare when someone's in the position that Jayla Hang and Fontaine were in here, where they've qualified to all four, where they've Simoned. Like, it's pretty rare when people qualify to all four finals. So then if you have event finals in the middle, that is adding in more rest for most athletes. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And you also have, I don't know, I like that that event finals at the end, because then athletes get to stay the whole time and they get to watch the rest of the championships when they're still competing. But a lot of times it's like, once you compete, like, you're out of there. You don't get to stay. So then I worry that those people would, be outie sooner. But you never. Anyway, I would like more rest for. Okay, so U.S. women, I was very impressed. I was a little worried, honestly, because I didn't know if all the Team A from Brazil and Team A from Mexico were going to show up, which they didn't. But I was like, wow, they beat Brazil and they beat Canada, which again, we're not the Olympic squads. Obviously, people are having babies and, being the Beyonce of Brazil right now. But it's so rude that they wait until they're, 35 and put their career first. We're very happy for Jaji Barbosa that she is having a baby. And also Ellie Seitz, pregnant.
It's baby year. It's baby season.
Yeah. Now's the time, apparently. So anyway, I was really impressed at how comfortable, how easy the win was for them. And I'm sure they're like, you have no idea what went on in the background. I'm like, oh. But, at least their hotel didn't flood and all the lights went out over and over this year. So that's good as far as we know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think given the rosters, I think the U.S. women were certainly expected to win gold here comparatively, but they did the job that they needed to do. Canada, team silver. Brazil came back for Team Bronze. Close, very close. And with Canada as well, because they kind of had more falls in the team final than they did in qualification. But Brazil had been 5th in qualification, as we mentioned, behind Panama as a team. They had a really rough qualification. They came back and they hit for bronze. None of the big Brazilian stars were here. So, Andrade wasn't here. Saraiva wasn't here. We did get to see Thais Fidelis on this team, where we haven't seen her in like 3 years.
I was so excited. Her beam was so beautiful, and her flexibility and her skills. And I'm like, yes, worlds. I'm so excited for her. Like, I love her gymnastics. And yeah, I was so happy to see her compete again.
And they were thrilled because it was kind of a nail biter. So then when the final score came in, and like the scoring system, of course, died right as we're waiting for the final score, because, you got to build the suspense somehow. But it was especially because it was Julia Coutinho who finished for them on bars. And we talked about her, or briefly mentioned that she won floor at the Koper World Cup. She did really well there. She was not having her like as strong of a competition so far here. She wasn't really able to show, because her floor was really good in Koper, and she wasn't really able to show that. So it was nice then that she came through with that hit on bars that they needed a hit for that final routine to get a medal. And that was kind of a nice cap on the competition for her to be the one who delivered that hit on bars in the final spot in the last rotation.
Hesley did freaking great.
I want to talk about Hesley understanding the chaos that we're looking for. I feel like now you're the veteran of the team. You've been through an Olympics. You understand that mostly we're looking for drama and chaos, and she really delivered that, especially because the team, the first day, all-around final, 2 falls on bars in that routine, and we were like, it's going to be another 2024 U.S. Classic, which has been erased from the memory when she had that really, really rough competition, because then she was like, oh, you know what doesn't matter? U.S. Classic. I'm going to make the Olympic team. So we were worried it was going to be one of those, but then she still came back and won all-around bronze. So that's very much what we're looking for. Also, did you see her beam save in the team final on her switch half?
Yes.
It was wild.
I was like, oh, she's off.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, she's super strong, and she did not fall off.
Yeah, and then it almost did the same thing in the event final, same element, but still medaled. So that was very cool. But yeah, she was switch half a foot is on the beam, kind of gets most of 1 foot on, but the other, her center of gravity was in a different country at that point. That was it was not close to the beam. I don't know how. Her leg is up, her entire torso is off the beam. How are you pulling that back on? Defying physics.
The lesson that I took from that was, why aren't you doing 17 different Y scale turns on the events? That is what I took. I was like, you so easily hold your leg up by the side of your head.
Yeah.
Let's put some turns in there. Just hold your foot and go with that center of gravity at this point. Switch half to throw your leg up in the air, Y turn, full turn.
Yeah.
This is also normally the kind of fall where someone does and they're sort of hopping a little, so they all of a sudden just crotch the beam.
Yeah.
And none of that, didn't crotch the beam.
Nope.
Because she's Hesley Rivera, Olympic gold medalist, in case you didn't know.
She pulled it back.
Paris. I also, Paris. This is also the time
that's what people should say who won medals at 2024 Olympics. I'm an Olympic gold medalist. Paris. You know how a fancy thing, how fancy it is? Paris, not some other city. It was Olympic gold medalist Paris edition.
This is a good time to talk about, since we're on this, can we talk about the beam judging? Okay, we'll get to beam judging in a second. I'm going to talk about artistry, but let's talk about the other stuff. I have a lot to say about artistry, but okay, let's talk about the bib numbers.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want to talk about the most, is the bib numbers rebelling against the concept of still having bib numbers in the year 2025. They were falling off I don't know what was happening. Is it just, do we have a safety pin problem? Was there a safety pin emergency? Did the Leos, are they making Leos with like anti-bib number repellent on them now? Because they could not stay on. Anytime anyone did a skill, it was just immediately flying off. The number of bib numbers we saw just like flapping to the ground after someone vaulted was like most of them. One shaposh, that thing was gone. I don't know what was happening, but I do feel like we have a seer in our midst, because someone on behind the scenes just asked about Holly Weiss's bib number in 2003 Worlds, not exactly like a recent topical thing that we're always talking about. And then immediately at Pan Am's, we had it come up that it would be a 3/10 deduction now if you did not have your bib number. So
yeah. And also I have theories about this, obviously.
Okay. I'm ready.
So one is that it's so humid in South America in general, but that the safety pins were rusting in the time that they were taken out of the package to then put onto the bibs. So that was a problem. But I also think maybe they used a bib number manufacturer that was not up to snuff, because you should not be using paper. It is actually like it's almost like a vinyl-ish that the bib numbers. So they're sort of like a fabric. And if they're not the right content of materials, then they'll just rip. So you have to have something that is strong when you put the hole in it, that it won't just rip all the way through when the G forces that these gymnasts put on the bib numbers come into play, which is why they should be tested in space before, or at least at your local, summer state fair whirligig. If they rip in that ride, they should be worn there first.
They need to be in one of those like sciencey centrifuges where they do atom splicing, etc. Right. And that's definitely fully scientifically accurate. And we have no listeners who are actual scientists who will be like, here's what it's called. We don't have that. It's fine. I did it perfectly.
The blood spinner. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Centrifuge.
In other coming back and having a great finish to the competition news, Leah Reddick of Canada won beam gold. She had a couple misses in the team final, so that was another one where it was really nice to see her come back and win a gold medal on her final routine. The beam judging. You wanted to talk about the beam judging?
Yeah. Okay, so what are your thoughts on what was happening? Because Sumana Sacra and Hesler Rivera's scores were raised later. And
their D scores. We've had a couple like back to back in the first day.
What do you think about that? Because we know that Tiana Sumana Sacra was only training beam, had a legal injury, did her beam routine, did her double pike. She was good, but didn't compete all the events. So why do you think that happened? Do you think that was the correct call? What do you think?
I don't know why it happened. But a couple
changing
inquiries.
The scores.
I feel like
the changing the scores is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you were saying. I can't possibly say other than, are we doing okay, judges? We got it? Or is it just like, the lesson taken from the Olympics is just inquire everything always?
Yes.
Just inquire every routine no matter what? Unless you're worried that it's going to actually get downgraded.
I was like, I was expecting a lot of inquiries, because now you have Damon and Patrick traveling to these meets.
Is that their identity now? Is just
Damon and Patrick?
Yeah.
They will inquire, and they will get the scores.
So you think that was it? They inquired for Tiana, and then Valeri was like, "Oh, inquiries. I'm gonna inquire, and Hesley's gonna get the bronze medal," because we thought that for a while it was gonna be Dulcie Kaler, unless Hesley's D score was fixed, which it was, and then Hesley was was the second finisher for the US.
Or it depends where Chelsea was sitting. If she was sitting right behind Beam and she was like, inquiry.
Yeah.
As long as everybody this is the genius. You're not allowed to have your phone on the floor for the coaches, but you can have an Apple Watch. And this is how, or whatever kind of, watch company where you can get messages, and you can get a message from Chelsea that says, burp, 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 inquire, blah, blah, blah. It should be the start value, inquire on that. That is what I would do.
That's the system. Yeah.
I was coaching. But I want to talk about the artistry on Beam specifically.
Okay. Yes.
I was so impressed with Hesley doing a full body roll before her leap pass on Beam, so much more expression, and using the full, what is the phrase again? The full boop of the body. What is it?
Involvement of the body parts? You want to involve all the body parts.
Involvement of body parts
Your kidneys, your spleen, they've all got to have choreography. Yeah.
That's right. Her appendix was a full circle in that.
You can't
routine.
make a requirement on an appendix because some people don't have them, Jessica. It's not fair. It's not equitable if you have appendix choreography requirements because not everyone's physically able to fulfill that.
Her spine did a full circle in just one I'm about to leap movement. And I was like, like there was a lot more.
You all the tension left your body. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You instantly relaxed. Yeah.
I did. There was a lot of little things like, and I'm mixing up, I'm going to mix up the choreography and whose was whose, but there was also, is it Tiana now has like a sassy, quick movement. And Dulcie actually has
tempo? Change
of tempo. She has adagio and the other one in her beam routine now, this is the thing. Like when I keep saying about what the actual code is asking for, it's asking you to go back to a time when this was just automatic. The way the gymnastics was done, and this is automatic, the way the compulsories taught you to do beam was with different tempos, and you had ballet for a reason, and then it totally went away, and now they're trying to put it back. It's like, it should have quick, slow. It should have a feeling to the routine, even if it's on beam. The one thing they have to work on, though, is like a lot of them added all of this, and it was so flowy, and everything was together, and then they were like, and I'm going to stand here for 25 years because I'm about to dismount with a double pike. So I flowed into, shit, stand still and concentrate. It has to, you got to watch coupettes. This is go back, have them watch coupettes. Like, see how you never see whatever she's going to do coming. She just steps and goes. This is what we need from the dance to the tumbling. But I was really impressed also on floor. So I don't know if it's like the Betty Aquino being at camp now, being part of the Trident, if it's the influence of new coaches, if it's they're finally getting the memo that like your artistry sucks, you have to fix it. But I was very impressed with the US. I feel like the US got the memo here much better than in the past.
I think you could, you could at least see bits of potential, which is as far as I'll go. But that is an improvement.
Yeah, I felt like it was. What was it? What I want to see? No. Was it? Oh, they're actually working on this and it's being implemented before the competition. Huge success for the US. Massive improvements. Yes, that is. I'm very happy about that.
It's like if I'm one of the increasingly rare college coaches that actually cares about doing interesting floor routines, I'm looking at those and saying, I can work with that.
Yes.
That's what I would be like. Give me an autumn with it, and we can work with that, which is an upgrade.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to complain about? Anything you want to complain about that you're also grateful for?
That's my main thing. So yes, I'm sure there is. Namely the streaming, because it was free and they streamed everything. So I kind of can't complain, but that's never stopped me before. So, oh my God, why are we parking on one event and through the whole thing and spending 20 minutes watching Sierra Macias wait for the bars judges to get it together and miss the entire lead group vault rotation in the team final and miss almost all of the US and Canada because we're parked on bars waiting for watching someone be impatient and waiting so that they can do their routine. Unacceptable.
PanamSportsChannel.com is where you can watch.
.org
is where you can watch this. And then Panam, the Pagoo also has lots of stuff up on their Instagram. But it's we need
if
Verdius
someone can't be ungrateful for the things they have, it should be a white man. Right? That's my role. I get to do that. I get to like complain about things that I should be grateful for, and no one has a problem with it.
Yep. Eurovision Sport also free in the US. You can go back and watch Euros.
And Asian Championships was all on YouTube for us.
Yeah, it's very thoughtful of Asian Championships. I mostly want to talk about, I can't believe I waited this long, is Isabella Ahaya was back.
For Argentina, who has been our favorite. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with her. I don't care how she does. I don't care if she places. I don't care. No, I don't care about the competition at all. Her gymnastics is so beautiful. She didn't even make a beam final. Does not matter to me at all. I don't care because I could watch her do gymnastics all day long. If you want to see how a layout series is supposed to be done, Isabella Ayala, it's so perfect. Pointed toes. The second her feet leave the ground in any aerial up in the air acrobatic element. So pointed. They're so pointed. Her form, this is what I want to ask you, Bucks. We're going to talk about
how much I like to watch Argentina on beam. 10 out of 10. Yeah.
I could watch their training videos all day. I will skip. I love, they're everything. Anyway, we're going to talk about Asian championships. And normally what we do at watching these meets is we pick who should be recruited to NCAA gymnastics. And we should be like, yes, you should do your elite career and have fun, but also come here and also fulfill our dreams of watching you compete 14 times in a row in the winter in the US. But do you think we're going to see as many international athletes coming to the US and blessing us with their gymnastics and their cultural influence and worldly views on our American teams?
Oh, like right now, given the everything, is that the question?
Yeah.
If I were from a country other than maybe Canada, I would not feel comfortable coming to the United States for college.
Yeah, me too.
So there are so many people at Pan Am Championships who I'd love to see in NCAAs, but it would be a completely understandable, smart, and probably safe decision to say, I'm not going to try to go to the US right now. And that's very sad.
Yeah. I think in addition to what's happening in the US right now, it is going to be harder to be an international athlete unless your school has a genius plan for your NIL things, which can totally be done. But generally, you can't make money while you're here unless you have a work visa. But you can do all your NIL deals at home. You can not do them on US soil. But it's going to be harder to be the one person on the team that doesn't have an NIL deal or isn't eligible for any of the collective money that's going out. So, there's that. I think the super academic schools will still have no problem getting people to come. The ones with gymnastics teams, the Yales, the Stanfords, the Cals. But I think there's going to be, I keep thinking like, and then like, would I recommend she come here? Nope. I absolutely would tell her to stay home. And on that happy note, Gymnastics Greatest Stars.
Jessica.
Gymnastics Greatest Stars 2025.
This is what I'm dealing with here. Edition. I get tricked into saying what I think about issues, and I don't care for that.
And then I get blamed for anything. Oh, okay. We talked about this on Behind the Scenes. If you want to know what happened after last week's episode, that's my teaser for you. So, Pusillanimous' etc. award.
Yeah.
That's what I'm starting with.
Okay. Would you want to explain that to the listeners or no? No.
Yes, Pusillanimous is someone who does not have the courage to do something. This is a pusillanimous. So,
it's actually an adjective and not a noun, but we've blown past that years ago. Don't worry about it.
I am making it into what I want for my purposes.
Yeah.
So, weak without courage. So Nakamura from Japan.
So you're saying she's the opposite of that.
She is the opposite.
That's what I was saying needed to be explained.
She is not that person. And this is why I am very happy with how she finished, because she has a deaf in her freaking routine. A deaf. which is a let go of the bar, do a layout with a full turn, and then grab the bar again. And if you've ever whacked your heels on the freaking bar, you know how scary it is to do a layout, let alone a layout where you cannot see anything.
So it's a 1.5 turn.
It is a 1.5.
Already a half turn. It's a full twisting ginger, so the ginger's already half turn. So when you're doing a def, you're doing a 1.5.
That's a good point. It is a 1.5.
Yeah.
Even more terrifying. And then she did a between the bars Delchev, you guys. Between the bars. That's nuts. And it's piked. Yeah, not straddle. Oh, I can see everything. I just couldn't see the whole time. Beautiful pike. Oh, it's the Moreno Nakamura is what that is.
She co-owns it. I mean, it's one of those where it's like, we've decided to name it now kind of things, but she co-owns the skill.
Yeah, so a def and a pike Delchev between the bars. And we love a pike Delchev. They're so beautiful. So she gets the I'm not a pusillanimous award.
Mm-hmm.
My bars is terrifying, and I'm really good at it too. It's not like terrifying, this is a mess, but I love seeing it. It was a beautiful routine. So,
which brings us to our Asian Championships debate club. Should this have won gold? Because this is the silver medal routine, just behind Qin Xinyi of China. Should this have won gold? Why didn't it? And is that a problem?
So this is the thing. I think it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I think is the difference between Nakamura and Chin is I can see them taking the rhythm and dynamics in that routine because there's so many super hard, insane, except the pike Delchev. There's no fluid problem. She catches it high and swings right out of it. But that is what I saw, the only major difference. But like, which routine do I want to watch over and over and over? Nakamura's, obviously, although his was beautiful too. But it just was more fluid, I would say. What did you think?
I would say, okay. I have to
say, our angle was not a perfect side angle.
Correct.
So
I feel like I know why Nakamura did not win gold here. Despite her higher difficulty score, she had several tenths lower than Chin on execution, and it's because she has 6 cast handstands in her routine.
Oh, that's right. I ignored those.
She is not able to do right. This is what I'm getting at, because she is not doing the Kayla Namor code hack of I'm so talented, I can connect everything and not do any cast handstands, and so there's no opportunity to deduct for me. Nina does the same thing. She has 6 cast handstands, and I think that's why. But also, is that a problem? Because if you are I agree with you, if you're just watching these routines, if you want appreciating gymnastics, which routine should be the gold medalist? Nakamura. And then Chin should absolutely be silver. Very strong performance. But which do you want? If the goal is to reward excellence, I think you want Nakamura first, Chin second. But I think that's more of a code issue than a judging issue, because I think it's hard to say. Like, it's so easy to pinpoint mistakes made in NCAA judging because, oh, you gave that routine a 10 and she hopped on a dismount and you didn't take for the hop on the dismount. In Elite, you gave that a 7-8 E score. I don't know if you took for a hop on the dismount or you did the same thing and ignored a hop on the dismount. You might very well have. All I know is you gave it a 7-8 execution score, and I have no idea where those deductions came from. So there's no way to kind of pinpoint if mistakes were made, but I think it's a code issue that maybe overvalues the cast handstands over the overall. That's enough, right? Over the overalls. The overalls. Wearing overalls during your routine is not appreciated enough by the current code of points. That's the issue. Also, the other issue I had was Zhang Yihan winning bronze with a fall over far less difficult but hit routines from Kishirina. Tanya Paulson had a beautiful routine. Leon So, always robbed. She had more trouble on the dismount, but still, I felt like there wasn't enough separation there. If you're taking so many deductions on every skill, then a point for a fall is not separated enough, which is also a bigger issue. But these are the things I was thinking about while watching the Asian Championships bars final.
Yep.
The thing I was thinking about while watching the Asian Championships beam final was, oh my God, this is such a good final.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
So, absolutely. Getting a long feature on our Gymnastics Greatest Stars 2025 Asian Championships edition is Hwang So-hyun of South Korea, who won beam gold. So that's upsetting the best beamer in the world, I would say, Jo Ya-chin, Olympic silver medalist, but also the best beamer in the world. Hwang won with her back tuck full, and Jessica was actually bouncing in her chair, if you're not watching, because she couldn't keep it together because she's so excited about this routine.
I freaking love her so much. She is another one that's like everything I want in a beam champion and a beam routine. She has it. She has difficulty. She has flexibility. She has fluidity. She has a tuck full that's connected. It's all there. And I kept being like, oh my God, there's no pause, there's no wobble, there's no anything. It's all put together. I love her beam so much. It's so pretty. And there's none of that like, oh, I'm doing this because the code requires it, but this looks stupid, but I have to do it. Like it's all there and it all looks good and fits together. Like it's a beautiful, like a sundae of delicious gymnastic skills, like a swirl of yummy beam. Love her. Obsessed with her.
Excellent. It was a good final. As expected, but it was a good group.
Yeah.
Who else are you adding to Gymnastics Greatest Stars?
Shigihara, Aiko, Japan,
absolutely.
Who always should be there. 4 medals, all around gold, by the way, our champion. And then for silver, team, beam, and floor. So she did amazing. And she wins all around gold 10 years after she first did it as the Asian Championships in 2015. So this is great. We're grown-ass women here showing up, winning things, which is what we love to see. It makes me so happy. And she's beautiful as always and has character in her gymnastics. This is what I like about her gymnastics. There's character. You can tell it's her that's going. She has her own style. Spencer, who else is on the list for you?
Well, I need to talk about Jo Ya-chin more because obviously. My favorite one. Surprise of the meet maybe that she won gold on floor and not beam, but did win gold on floor and then bronze on beam. We kind of had Paris part 2 because she didn't win because she like broke 50 connections in her beam routine, but I didn't care because it was still great. One floor where I expected Sugihara to win gold. Jo Ya-chin won floor. Just a delight to watch her fluidity, her gymnastics. We talk about it all the time, but it's just like, you need to be featured on Gymnastics Greatest Stars because she is a great star.
Yep. Tanya Paulson was here because Tanya Paulson is now competing, not for Sweden. She was like, I've gone as far as I can with Sweden. I want to change, competing for Taiwan. Got to be at Asian Championships, which I think is like great because you get to be at this meet with she probably had way fewer chances to compete against Japan and South Korea and Taiwan and China. And so being at this meet, I feel like is worth it in itself to compete for Taiwan. But 4th place all around and team. And I think like we have talked about her for years. She gets
the Anna Pavlova award for being beautiful in 4th place. Yeah.
Yes. The greatest 4th place finish. We have talked about her for years. We've interviewed her for years at Worlds because she is, again, like has a beautiful quality of gymnastics. It's that flexibility, form, and power all put together. If you love Cal gymnastics, you will understand why she is going to Cal. Like this is her commitment for college, which we're so lucky to have her come to the US and compete. That's the style of her gymnastics. She's a perfect fit there. And I'm just so happy that she did so well and also like did great for Taiwan. It's a great get for Taiwan.
Absolutely. Okay, rounding up some of the headlines from Asian Championships. So as we mentioned, China won team gold by about 4/10 over Japan. That was the first day where they were also awarding team competition. So it was really close, exciting. From me, I'm going to say no pity for Japan, at least Japan's leadership. No pity for the leadership of the Japan team because they didn't even compete with a 5th team member. You had 5-member teams and Japan competed with 4. So you know what could have given you the 4/10 you needed to beat China? Ashikawa's beam. Miata's vault. But they weren't there, so you didn't beat China. And that's what happens when you only have 4 people on your team. But China and Japan tied on 7 medals apiece. China wins the medal count because they had 4 golds and Japan had 1 gold. Also wanted to mention Zhang Yihong for China, who's the vault champion, with her Souk double full, which is deeply necessary for China's vault and will continue to be in the coming years. Had also had a strong competition, even though she fell on bars in the event final. But, overall, we didn't see some of China's. They had some of their biggest gymnasts. Zhou Yaqin, as we talked about, was here. Others like Zhang Qingying, who won the all-around at championships, wasn't here. Yang Fanyue, who has the full twisting layout Jaeger named after herself now, was not here. So it was kind of a semi-A team for China, but so also a good opportunity for some of the other athletes. Shinyi won bars and bronze in the all-around. And you mentioned Chuso getting injured on vault, which kind of ruined everything.
Yeah.
The end.
But I'm glad she gets to compete at home, whatever she does. Maybe she'll do bars and just dismount into the arms of many men, like Carrie Strug did on her. Remember when Carrie Strug did her own Olympic tour after 96? And she dismounted just into people catching her, that's what she did, which is, If you have feedback for us, you can always send it to gymcastic@gmail.com, or you can always put it in the forum. And if you're a Club Gym Nerd member, you have your own special area, VIP area. Let us know you want this feedback read on the show, and we'll try to get to it in the regular show, or we'll try to get to it behind the scenes. So this is an interesting letter. Okay. Excel breakdown from Margarita.
Margarita says, I am a gymnastics mom. My daughter has been doing gymnastics since she was 3 or 4 years old. She is 10 now. She has been competing in Excel for about 3 years now, and she is finishing up her 2nd silver season. I'm constantly trying to find ways to help her understand what it means to have a good routine and to prevent small deductions. I've learned a lot this year, and now I understand that all the small deductions are geared toward good form that would prevent injuries, or at least that's what I tell myself. I've been looking for a source of where to learn and where my daughter can learn step by step a specific event like vault. What things the judges are looking for, as well as what things she should focus on to prevent injuries and deductions. Deductions, I'm not sure if you guys have ever done a special focused on Excel, but I think a lot of moms would appreciate learning more about the sport that our daughters are involved in. My daughter will start a 9-hour training weeks in 4 weeks as she dedicates more and more time. I would like to understand the sport and be able to provide good feedback and understand her meet scores better. I would love to hear a resource that you would recommend to learn more, or hear you guys break that down in a podcast. Thanks in advance. Look forward to hearing from you.
Margarita, we have the answer for you. We have Gym Nerd School. We have 3 episodes of Gym Nerd School, I think. It's GymCastic University. And
they're not focused on Excel.
They're not focused on Excel. It's all the same. It's all this is, your arms are supposed to be straight. When you first learn a kip, they teach you to keep your arms straight because you want to use your momentum, not your arm muscles, to get yourself to a handstand, which gives you momentum to do all the hard stuff later, like a giant and a good dismount, a safe dismount. Like all of those things. If you want the big overview, the Gym Nerd School, GymCastic University, I will link those in the show notes, and they are up on the YouTubes. So we have visual aids that go with these for educational purposes. And they're fun, and we make it fun to learn. And I just think, even if it's on, we have an episode that's like, what is college scoring and what is college judging, and understanding it. Even that is helpful for this level, because you get an overview of what the deductions are the same, whether you're a level 4 or you're a level 10 or you're an elite. You want certain positions, certain techniques to do your gymnastics well and safely. I love that you said safely, Margarita, because that should be the point. And one of the things that we talk about in one of those episodes, I think we have 3, is we talk about how the landing deductions have changed, and how if you're being taught to land with your feet together and not to, the Shannon Miller demonstrated on whatever nighttime TV show she went on that time, where she did an aerial and then taught the host how to land. The worst possible way to land, so unsafe. It's an ankle cracker. You should always be in a safe landing as an actual real squat, like a weightlifter does in Olympic weightlifting. That's a real squat. So we go over that kind of stuff for safety reasons. And I feel like Excel's good because you get to do the stuff that like feels good to you and is safe. It's not like compulsories where there's a lot of like, this hurts, but you have to do it anyway, even though the compulsories are a little better. But I can link you to those. And we talk about form deductions a lot, but we could do another gym nerd school. We could go for the new code.
Always.
Yeah. So I'll link to those. And thank you for your letter. And I'm so glad you found us because obviously you're in the right place. Anna says, can we talk about the 2026 season?
Thanks for all your hard work, Spencer, Jessica, and Fact Checker. Now that the 2025 college season is over, what are your ins and outs for the 2026 season? Mine is at Michigan State believing in themselves, and my outs are backless leotards and calling gymnasts loose. All right, Jessica, ins, outs. One day you're in and the next day you're out.
I never thought about calling the gymnast loose was like loose, like actually, like that's an old timey word for people who were very sex positive. So, okay. So my ins are making as much money as you can. Yeah, more athletes saying things like Jayla Hang said in her interview after she won all around, which is she said like she worked really hard and a lot of things, and then she said, I deserve it. And I was like, yes, more athletes.
Yeah.
I deserve this. I earned it. I did the work. I put the hours in. I'm here. I hit my routines. I deserve this. I love that she said that. So I agree with the believing in yourselves. So that's the ins. Make as much of it as you can. Be nice. My ins are also
your in is being nice.
Taking a stand on things because it is more important than ever. And you will be under more pressure than ever not to take a stand publicly because you will be afraid of losing sponsorships. And you should put morality before money and your sponsorships. So find people to do NIL deals with who will support your the basics of democracy and let you, speak out about that. Obviously, those are mine. Outs. Outs are
I mean, you have many outs. Crowning, you have talking about showing off your personality on floor. Yeah. That's going to be out. We're out on that.
Showing your personality, loving your team.
Floor with your mouth open the whole time.
Oh, yes. Fly catching. Also just being like, I love my team. I love these people. It's okay to be like, yeah, we're halfway through the season. I can't stand everyone, but like I will feel better when I have a weekend off. And we will get back to this. And this is what it's like. You go through ups and downs. And yeah, I hate everyone right now, but I just need a do nothing day where I have nothing to do. I don't have to see anyone or talk about gymnastics. And then I'll be fine. And then those are my big
Your
outs.
in is going to be the scoreboard actually being a thing.
Yes,
you're calling that in for
enforcing
being mandatory.
Mandatory scoreboard and actually giving the judges feedback, which I think is very important. And judges starting from the same baseline, no matter when and where, and the scoring be the same the whole season, not changing throughout the season, then being totally different in the postseason. That is the important thing to me. How about for you, Spencer?
I mean, I named many of mine when suggesting things for you. So, yeah, those are mine. Out is, oh God, everything. This is how tired we get of it during the NCAA season. And then come November, I'll be like, when is NCAA season starting? So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
I would love, my in is to be different and stand out. Have someone on your team do something to classical music that is totally beautiful and like stops the show. And then you can end it with, your Jordan Childs and your all the hits and the crowd knows the moves and all of that stuff. But like have someone do something that is different than we're doing a mashup of all the cheerleading music and squishing it together like a big fart and then sticking it in a floor routine. Oh, I'm so sick of those. Or if you're going to do...
So Ian is going to be vetting your music through us first.
Obviously.
We have a lot of opinions and we will tell you.
Number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing a throwback season, like where someone does,
Like an all-star season of a reality show. Like we're just going to have an all-star season of college gymnastics next year.
We're going to do the entire Soviet 1980 routines. That's what we're doing for floor. Mm-hmm. As a political statement, like this is a way that you can have world peace and not bowing down. LA 2028 mixed event? Question from Hannah.
All right. Thanks for discussing so many listener questions. I learned so much from what the others ask. Re the mixed events in the 2028 games. Would the current rules allow for countries with a deep bench to exploit the use of alternates? To use the 2024 teams as an example, let's say that the team and individual events have concluded. Could Team USA allow Simone, Suni, and Steven to rotate out, call up Joss, Leanne, and Shane to compete in the mixed event, and still have Kalia, Tiana, and Koi available as reserves for injuries? I realize that most countries don't have as many athletes to call up, but it does seem like a way to prevent injury from overuse while allowing more athletes a chance to experience representing their countries at the Olympics. I think one of the reasons they are organized the mixed team event where they did at the European Championships was to prevent athletes from pulling out as much, because they still had more significant medal events, additional significant medal events to come. So I think there's part of that is the organizers of meets are against that, or are worried about that. I would say
they're trying to make sure that people still watch, and it's not a meet of people you've never heard of. That it's a meet, not that these people are people you never heard of, but they want the stars competing in this. Yeah.
But after the meet begins, are you, by the rules, able to re-credential someone who was not previously credentialed at the Olympics?
No.
So I think that's part of the issue.
Yeah, that won't be allowed. That's it. Yeah. Emergency team?
Bab says, I've been listening to the YouTube main show podcast for over a year, but I recently decided I needed more. And that brings me to being a new Club Gym Nerd member. I love how candid BTS and colleges and cocktails have been. I was missing out big time, but I'll stop all the compliments before Spencer gets sick. The question I have is, has there ever been a time where another school was called up as a reserve to compete at an NCAA competition? I can't think of this happening often because teams have like 10 athletes ready to go on the sidelines, but maybe another condition that affects the whole school, say a sudden explosive bowel virus going around, and prevents them all from competing. I'm curious if this has ever happened and another school had to / chose to compete kind of last minute. Additionally, I was wondering if any reserve teams have ever been used at an elite competition team final. This also seems unlikely because alternates are a thing. Are team reserves just there for protocol? Thank you for everything.
So
did we do this question already? I think we may have, but I don't mind.
We've kind of talked about this, but I don't think we did this one. There have been situations where a reserve team has been asked to come compete in NCAA because something happened to another team. Like there's the teams that like got stuck in the snow. And remember that one time, who was that team? Was it West Virginia?
At meets, not at a championship.
No, not at a championship.
Just at meets.
Just at meets. And then of course we had when Arkansas didn't qualify to SEC championships this year. Next year they're gonna have all 9 teams, but this year they didn't. Then they got invited to compete at Oregon, and then ultimately couldn't do it. But so that's kind of a time. There have been, I'm trying to think, and there have been situations where something happened where someone missed a meet or had to cancel a meet because of weather, and so then they got invited to other things, but not like in the moment. I can't think of a time. This probably happened in a team. Does it happen in a team final?
We talked about the Ukraine men that time who did not withdraw from the competition, but the contention was that because they didn't have enough athletes able to go once the team final rolled around, that they should have withdrawn and allowed another team to compete in the team final, a reserve team, because they weren't going to put up enough athletes to have a full score.
Which I stand by their right to compete, because you never know what's going to happen in gymnastics. All the other teams could get an explosive diarrhea virus and also not put up enough athletes to get a full score. But yeah, I would be super pissed if I was like, they don't even have 3 people on each event to compete, and here they are in the team finals. I would be mad. But Ukraine, they earned the right to compete in it. Yeah, we talked about that, but I'm sure there's something that Uncle Tim or like Pam Chankova will know about, something that happened in like the 1940s, team final in Norway, and someone, but I don't know about that, but I'm sure someone will write in about that. Are we saying something? No, it's always been like individuals, but not, I can't think of a team. Chuso thoughts.
Beth says, I'm a longtime listener writing in for the first time. I'm so excited to see Chuso back in action and winning medals at World Challenge Cups. Hearing that she is looking forward to 2028 has inspired me to reach out with a question that has been lingering in my mind for quite some time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Chuso choose to compete at Asian Games 1 year last quad rather than going to Worlds, where she could have potentially qualified to the Olympics? I remember it being discussed at the time, and Jessica explaining that for many athletes, the Asian Games are a bigger deal than Worlds. The explanation made sense, and at the time, I guess I thought that maybe Chuso wasn't super focused on qualifying to Paris. Later on, however, she seemed determined to try to qualify in any way possible. Clearly, it was still a huge goal for her to get to Paris, so I questioned her motivation for giving up a potential opportunity to qualify. Thoughts on why she made that decision? Do you think she was overly confident about her ability to qualify later? Also, how likely is it that she could have qualified for Paris at the Worlds that she skipped? I would have just loved to see her in Paris. Also, future episode idea. Your commentary on Annie Fogarty and the infamous CNN Parkettes documentary made me realize how wonderful it would be to hear from her regarding her experiences at Parkettes, the documentary, and even transitioning into diving. Just food for thought. Thanks for all you do. The podcasts are often the highlight of my week.
Thank you. This is the thing. We don't really know if Chuso had, she's usually pretty transparent about her injuries, but it might have been something that she's contractually obligated to do for her federation to compete at Asian Championships. She wasn't necessarily able to skip them.
That would be my first thought as well. That about what the deal with funding is, or things we don't know.
Yeah, and then that's part of what I was saying, like why it's such a big deal. Like it really is. It's like European Championships are so, we don't have, like you were saying earlier, like Pan Ams are just Pan Ams. They're nothing like European Championships. European Championships are so prestigious, and I think that comes from them starting with having the most competitive teams during the the early age of competitive gymnastics before China opened up to the rest of the world. And then joined the club of you have to beat China because they're amazing and they're just as good, better as the Soviets. I think that started why it was so prestigious. And so, yeah, I think it would be great if Pan Am's became like that. But yeah, I think she probably had to do that. Gymnastics eligibility calculus. Oh no.
Landon says, quick question about eligibility because it is more confusing than my honors calculus classes in college.
Correct.
Could DiCello defer again in 2028 to try for LA and still come back to finish out her NCAA career in 2029? I'm thinking yes, since she competed in 2023, deferred 2024, redshirted 2025, competing in 2026 and 2027 would only give her 3 years of actual competitive experience. Or would she not be able to, since that would be her 7th season and that whole 5 years to compete 4 seasons timeline thingy? She hasn't even said definitively if she wants to try for 2028, but us DiCellinators are ready for Kayla 28, the year it finally happens. Thanks for all that you do.
DiCellinators! I love DiCellinators. I technically sort of not, but in reality, totally, because you just have to argue it in a certain way, and she's doing her duty to her country and blah, blah, blah. And people have totally competed 7 years. So yes, do I think she could do it? Yeah. But it's also
you can do whatever you want.
You can do it. Yeah. And also it will be one of those things where it's like, does Florida have the scholarships? There's no limits on scholarships now, but how are they planning? And what will they have available, because even though you can pay now, there's no limit on the amount of money you can pay the athletes, but there's a limit on the team size. So, like, obviously, if DeCello's doing great,
only kind of, as we talked about before, because you have your grandfather gymnasts.
Right. The grandfather gymnasts can also, they carry their eligibility. So that's the thing of like, if she exceeded the limit and for some reason they didn't want to keep her, I feel
if she wants to compete, Florida's going to have, like, they're going to find a way.
But I'm just doing the but if. She could carry over her grandfather eligibility.
But is she going to be a grandfather gymnast?
Right.
She might just be a regular member of the team.
Yes. And the grandfather.
There's a lot of, we don't know how it's working, but basically there are no rules anymore.
Yeah. And also people have totally competed. There's someone that's competed for 9 years. There's other gymnasts have competed for 6 and 7 years in college before. So the rules are basically totally out of the window. A reminder that live show tickets for Chicago are on sale now, and it's going to be very fun. I'm so excited. We're going to have special guests. We're going to have our games. Secret special guest, who hopefully I'll be able to announce soon. And it's going to be really fun. It's going to be Friday night, July 18th. So you can come home from work, have a little bite to eat, head over to the IO Theater. Remember, buy your tickets ahead of time because we don't do anything in cash. But there will be a bar. The bar is open. It's a big regular theater. And it's, Chicago. So there's public transportation right down the street. So handy. And it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also hoping to make a gym visit while I'm there and see a gym that I've always wanted to see. I also wanted to just give a shout out. We lost someone really beloved by the gymnastics community this week, which is Dean Ratliff of Seattle, who has been a judge for forever and ever and ever. And he was very respected by so many people, and so much so that he was part of the scoreboard that was reviewing the scores this year. And he is one of the few judges in my life who always stood out to me. And I always think there's two judges who are always like so great. And when I first started coaching high school gymnastics in Seattle at Garfield, I had no idea what I was doing, because I've talked about this in behind the scenes before, because I was like, they didn't even have high school gymnastics where I grew up. So he took me and my co-coach aside and like explained everything to us and was so kind and was just an absolute delight and just a wonderful, helpful, kind person. And he also, I did an interview with him when I first started GymCastic about like kind of myths busters about judging. Like we asked him all the things that, Marta Caroli would say to the athletes about, jewelry and nail and hair and all of that stuff. And I'm going to link that episode so you guys can listen to it. It's done in the very early the era of GymCastic. So there's probably something offensive that I would never say nowadays in that episode, but he was just such a lovely person. And I just, one of those people that you always smile when you see and will be helpful and have answers. And it's just like kind and thoughtful to the athletes. And one of the people that helped me navigate so we have athletes who have to, it's like Ramadan, and they also can't wear leotards because of their religion. So like, what can they wear? And is this okay? And is it going to be a big deduction? And who's like, don't worry about it. Your athlete can wear the zebra striped tights underneath her purple Garfield leotard, and it's going to be fine. We understand. It's no big deal. And he was just, lovely. So it's a big loss, and I'm glad he got to do lots of traveling with his family before his last days. And we'll miss you, Dean, and thank you. Okay, so live show tickets on sale. We will see you guys on Friday for behind the scenes at noon Pacific, 7 GMT. We have so much to talk about because a lot happened this past weekend. Fact Checker and I were busy doing things. We've got to tell you about all the things, and we can answer all of your questions. And we appreciate your support so much. So remember too, until Friday at noon, behind the scenes, take off on gay, split on rights. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you Friday at noon Pacific behind the scenes.